Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another one of my lives on The Hard Truth. I want to read you some information. First of all, thank you for watching, for all of your wonderful posts, and thank you for everyone who donated. For those who don't know how to donate, all of my donation information is located on my community tab, okay, on my channel. Okay, for this Idaho 4 case, I really believe that multiple people committed these murders. I have several reasons for believing that. It doesn't necessarily exclude Brian Kohberger, but it also dispels a lot of the theory that insists that Brian is involved. So I want to talk about some of these things based on several pieces of text, and I'm not going to read them all to you, but the main one is that before a person does something, they actually commit the act in their heart. And that's very important because you have to understand that people don't just wake up and decide to kill three or four people. They've already committed in their mind and their heart, and when the opportunity presents itself, they set a plan in motion. And so, with that being said, let's get started with our live. I'm very excited to present some information to you. And so go ahead and grab your coffee or a hot cup of tea as we begin our story. Okay, can you all hear me okay? Okay, so what about now? Okay, 1 minute. Okay, how about now? Okay. All right, what about right now? Okay, let me turn it up a little bit. All right. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, Leah, Alicia, beautiful. Don't Die, 509, Catherine Thomas, Melissa Ann, Audrey Cakes, Alicia Mary Lee Richardson, Gobel? Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. Okay, we had a little bit of a pre-recorded introduction. I'll probably maybe make this into well, you'll be able to see it after the recording. All right, so I want to start with not this one. I want to start with Christchurch because we haven't talked about Christchurch yet, and I have an interesting take on it. And so let's start there. This is an article in the Daily KOS, and it is entitled Cult-Like Churches. is an This is an article in the Daily KOS, and it is entitled Cult-like Church's Takeover of Idaho College Town is Fueled by a Misogynist, Rape-Friendly Theology. Okay, here we go. Okay, this was published September the 29th, 2021. All right, and here is Pastor Doug Wilson of Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho. Now listen, these are, I'm only repeating the opinions of other people. These are not my personal opinions. These are the opinions of whoever wrote this article. Let's see, David Newark and whoever he interviewed, I guess. And just a little bit of it, let's see, skip over that. A deep profile. Wilson's domineering evangelical church, which buys up property and businesses throughout the Latah County community and bullies both members and non-members who question either his edicts or his far-right theology, is built on a fundamentally misogynist worldview that permits male members to rape their wives and threatens any women who object. And that's pretty harsh, but like I said, it's not my words. Stancore's report details the stories of the women who have survived Christchurch culture that normalizes sexual abuse and harassing survivors. Of all the people we have investigated, a lot of them we struggle to find a motive, but actually the church had a motive according to their doctrine, okay? They disagreed with the girls' lifestyles, okay? The loud music. Xana and Ethan weren't married, at least not yet, and he was staying the night. Just the partying atmosphere. I'm sure the church didn't like that, and so they did have a motive, okay? But one thing that surprises me is that a lot of people have asked me to look into the Christ Church, but no one has asked me to look into the Satanic Temple. The Satanic Temple, Idaho, is very active. In fact, both the Idaho chapter and also in the state of Washington. And so I looked at some articles, and here's one from Kohberger, Idaho. Remember, Maddie and Kaylee are from Kohberger, and also whether they were actually killed together in bed or not, their bodies were found together in the same bed, and although 4 people were murdered, the knife sheath was found in the bed with Maddie and Kaylee. So that could mean something because they could be sinning by leaving the sheep with Maddie and Kaylee, because they could have left the sheep with Xana and Ethan, or in the kitchen on the counter or on the front step. But they left it in the bed with Maddie and Kaylee. And also, we don't know whether they were actually in the same bed when they were killed, or if the killers actually put them in the same bed together, because there's a lot of evidence to support that Kaylee was not in the bed with Maddie when she was killed. But that's another part of the story. But look at this article. It says family-friendly pride event features unbaptisms by Satanic Temple drag dance party. And this is to be held in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Pride in the Park celebration. Let's see. Traditionally, baptisms are a Christian sacrament in which followers of Christ enact a ritual in which they submit themselves wholly to their faith and are reborn through the process of being submerged in water. All right. Inversely, unbaptisms are apparently exactly what they sound like. Former Christians undergoing a ritual in which they reverse or undo their baptism. Okay, so this is taking place in Maddie and Kaylee's hometown. Okay, it was June the 8th. This just this past summer that this occurred. Okay, so what do you think of this one? Now, I was scrolling through the TikTok for the ST, and I also saw a few interesting things here. First of all, one of the postings in May received 187 million views. I mean, that's a lot of people that are, I mean, affiliated with the ST, is what I'm calling it, ST. And another thing I found was this picture. I'm sorry, this is the Instagram, not the TikTok. This is the ST Instagram that I'm getting this stuff from, in case you want to go back and look. All right. This picture looks very similar to the picture of Haley. One of my sons said the picture looks like BK. I th- I thought I'd stick that in there for humor. But anyway, this this picture looks very close to Haley. She doesn't always wear her hair this way, but she chose to wear her hair this way when she knew she was going to be on national television. And I found that interesting because, I mean, maybe it was making a statement, and maybe this is the type of person that BK is attracted to. All right? She's not the only one with multi different colored hair that he's associated with. There's only a couple of women that are directly associated with BK, and his hairdresser is one of them. We know that he called her for a haircut, and we know that her hair is very interesting, the color. So I'm thinking that BK's type, so to speak, is probably someone that has multicolored or very interesting colored hair. I don't think that that these girls are his type that are at King Road. I think they're a little too traditional looking, so to speak. And so, what do you think about this one? Okay, what do you guys think about the Satanic Temple? I hope you all can still hear me. I want to keep moving because I have like 5 points that I want to cover. And the second thing that I want to talk about, if no one has any input on the um, the Satanic Temple connection with Cordelion, uh, Maddie, and Kaylee, and also, okay, why do you say that, Leah? Because I mean, a lot of people are saying Christ Church, but at the same time, uh, the ST is very active in Idaho. I mean, they're having activities in right up the street in their hometown. And has anyone ever thought about the fact that she was left in Maddie and Kaylee's room? I mean, doesn't that mean something? We can speculate as to whether um, Ethan and Xana were casualties or whether they meant to kill those two kids. But at the same time, we could say, Maddie and Kaylee were both the target. All right? All right, so let's move on to Mr. G because I want to really cover that in full. All right. Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Now, I'm kind of confused with Mr. Goncalves, be honest with you, and I think he's confused, and I'm going to tell you why. I think Mr. Goncalves is confused because when they first arrested Brian Kohberger and gave him and he read that affidavit, some things he knew about, some he didn't, but he had already said that the bruises don't match between his child Kaylee and Maddie, and that suggested that there were two different weapons used. In other words, there was more than one person. He said that way back the beginning of December. And so once Mr. G read the affidavit, he kind of started going along with what they're saying, but I don't think it sat right with him from the beginning. But he just kind of went along with it, and now that this information has come out, he needs some explanation. And I think one reason why he's challenging, this is not the first time that he has challenged the gag order. It certainly is not. And so I have a clip here I want you to watch that I made, pretty much giving you my perspective. It may be running a little bit behind my screen, I think, but let's try it.
Murder victims, Steve Goncalves and his attorneys say they see.
Okay, please pay attention to the dates on these because this is the most important part, the dates. Look at the dates on these publications, okay, as they run through right quick.
Connections between Kaylee and the suspect, but they aren't ready to talk about exactly what those connections are. The arrest comes the same day as his family is holding a celebration of life for Kaylee.
The beginning. Victim Kaylee Goncalves' father, Steve, says they are looking for connection between
Victims, Steve Goncalves and his attorneys say they see connections between, but they aren't ready to talk about exactly what those connections are. The arrest comes the same day as his family is holding a celebration of life for Kaylee.
The beginning. Victim Kaylee Goncalves' father, Steve, says they are looking for connections between Kohberger and Kaylee and the other victims.
I'm biased, but if you got to know my daughter, I would think it'd be impossible for you to hurt her. So I think a little bit of us all kind of felt like this was somebody to talk to her, get to know her, because she was a very likable person and she didn't have a mean bone in her body. So, I feel like he definitely was into this type of thing. He had made a lifetime commitment to, wrapping himself into crime and solving crime and figuring out how people got caught, interviewing people, doing different things that a normal student wouldn't be so interested in. So I think he maybe.
Okay, I need to pause right here because I see some discussion about the sheet in the chat, and I'm going to get to that. But at this point, Mr. Goncalves is just regurgitating what the police told him, and I'm gonna answer that question. The literal point of the sheath is to attach it to your belt, just like a holster for your gun. Don't see too many holsters being left at crime scenes. Makes no sense. Okay, I'm gonna get to that, but I want to start right here with Mr. Goncalves. Okay, this let me put something here. Okay, see if you can see this. All right, I don't know if you can see it or not, but let's just stop this ignorance right now about the survey, because Brian Kohberger's survey is exactly what he should be doing at PhD level. As a matter of fact, you have to submit a dissertation, to get a PhD. You don't. I mean, that's a requirement. For people to say that his interest was not normal, I mean, no offense, but to me that's ignorant, because it's perfectly normal for somebody in a PhD criminology program to be conducting a survey, for a paper on violent behavior. I mean, this is just natural. This is what put it this way, okay? When I was pursuing let me put it back up here. It did come up though. It did come up and then it went off. I'll put it back up there. All right. I'm going to get to the sheaf, but I need to make this point one last time. Okay? This is you have to complete a dissertation and defend it to get most postgraduate degrees, especially a PhD. Okay? And so he has to do something in that neighborhood to graduate. Okay? There's nothing in this survey that is abnormal, or let's say there's nothing here that is indicative of someone that's obsessive. This is exactly what he should be doing as a criminology PhD student. When I was in my master's program, I didn't have to defend a dissertation. I did have to do a paper, but I didn't have to defend it. But what I did do was write papers for other people out of a company out of the UK. I mean, really, that's how I paid my bills for a long time when I was pursuing my master's degree. And so you'd be surprised how many of these surveys and things pop up around October and maybe April, because you have to do it. So I think he's just regurgitating what the police are telling him about that survey in the PCA. For the record, it's perfectly normal for a criminology PhD student to be gathering data for a formal paper for his graduation requirements. And I just hope I don't keep hearing that, because to me it's just kind of ignorant to say that that's not normal. All right, let me finish with this video here that I made. Okay, go ahead and look at the dates on it. All right. I'm going to start it back.
Yeah, I got a little overconfident and didn't realize that there really is no perfect way to commit a crime.
Murder victims, Steve Goncalves and his attorneys say they see connections between Kaylee and the son. To talk about exactly what those connections are, the arrest comes the same day as his family is holding a celebration of life for Kaylee.
The beginning.
Victim Kaylee Goncalves' father, Steve, says they are looking for connections between Kohberger and Kaylee and the other victims.
I'm biased, but if you got to know my daughter, I would think it'd be impossible for you to hurt her. So I think a little bit of us all kind of felt like this was somebody who didn't have a chance to meet her, talk to her, get to know her, because she was a very likable person and she didn't have a mean bone in her body. So I feel like he definitely was into this type of thing. He had made a lifetime commitment to, you know, wrapping himself into crime and solving crime and figuring out how people got caught, interviewing people, doing different things that a normal student wouldn't be so interested in. So I think he maybe got a little overconfident and didn't realize that there really is no perfect way to commit crime.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mojo. He said, I just saw all bloodstains treated at BK's apartment and Pullman came back negative on report. Okay, so how on earth could this guy leave an apartment bloody, get in his car, go back to his apartment? He had no time to stop between Moscow and going around that circle and arriving back in Pullman. There wasn't enough time for him to make that drive, first of all. And then for him to be able to stop somewhere, he didn't have time. So there's got to be, where did the blood go? Where did the blood go? Hold on. Let me put that in there. All right, let me finish with Mr. G so I can make my point here, please.
Okay, so
these officers just did an amazing job, and I was hard on them, and I'll come out and say that I owe them all the gratitude in the world, and I've always supported the police. But it's the school that I come from. Like, everybody can do their best, and they need to come to the every day trying to be the best person that they can. I won't back off of that. They did an amazing job. Then they had, I mean, people think Idaho is so old, old-fashioned and out back, but these guys, they hit a home run, man. That affidavit is impressive, and I'm glad to be wrong. I wanted to be wrong, and I told them to their face. I looked them in their eyes and said, prove me wrong, and all is forgiven. And here we are, and all is forgiven. And I'll say, I don't care.
Okay, now he's talking about all is forgiven from the police. He's good with what they told him, right? So first it was, you guys better come up with something. Then it was, well, they came up with something, all is forgiven, blah, blah, blah. So, he's on a roller coaster emotionally. Okay, let's listen.
And I'll tell everybody, I was concerned, but I was wrong. They were right. And I'm okay with that. I have my person now. We have our person of interest, our defendant, and we will go after him, and he better be ready.
Thank you. The family has been vocal from the beginning, even conducting their own investigation and now telling Court TV there was no prior connection between Kaylee and Kohberger. They also tell me that while they knew of a knife sheath found at the crime scene, they didn't know that there was a DNA profile on it.
Right. That's right. CL, that's right. It's like we're going back and forth here, because now they're saying they didn't find any connection between BK and Kaylee. First there was a connection. Then the police are right. They did a great job. All is forgiven. Then they came back and said there's no connection. We don't see a connection. I mean, what's going on? Is it a connection or not? Well, I would say that it's not, because guess what? If there was a connection, we would know by now. Okay, we would know by now. And then I want to go back to what I said about this being a planned event. Okay, remember what I said from the beginning? This was a planned event. And I'm going to show you what I think is is part of it. All right. First of all, let's look at this one here. All right. All right. This is an article from Howard Bloom, the guy that claimed that the DNA didn't come back until they sent it to the Texas lab. Remember him? This is from Howard Bloom's memoirs in Airmail. Okay, it says, but by the fateful November weekend when the murders occurred, Chief Fry had hoped that all the bad feelings that had been simmering in the town over the past 2 years had, with the end of the coronavirus restrictions, also largely slipped away. The previous spring, he had missed his chance to go on a prolonged elk hunt. He hadn't felt right about leaving Moscow for too long, but he no longer had such qualms. On November 12th, Fry and his wife Julie had driven to visit a friend nearly 3 hours away. All right, I don't think that was a coincidence. I think the killers knew that Chief Fry was not going to be in town. All right, I'm going to put that in the chat. See if y'all listening to me. All right, do you think the killers knew Chief Fry was going to be out of town? I think I missed a few things there. I mean, I don't think that was a coincidence. I think they knew he was going out of town, and I think they knew who would respond to the call. Okay? I also want to show another thing that I don't think is a coincidence. I think Lori said, and you want to believe your child didn't suffer. That's true. You want to believe that, but I have something else I want to pull out. I don't know if I should do it right now. No, let me finish these first. It's sort of about what you said, Leah. All right. They say Chief Fry was out of town, 3 hours away, and so let's look at this. I think this is important also. All right. Okay, this is also an excerpt from Who Does Freemason Signs? As a PhD candidate requires doing research, especially surveys or clinical work, to review and assess and defend your dissertation. This is only a part of the normal process. Sylvia Cruz, God bless you, for finally somebody saying what makes sense, okay? This guy is supposed to do exactly what he was trying to accomplish with that survey, okay? WSU requires a dissertation for PhD program. He had to do it. All right? Okay, who said 200% it was known? Sudi. Are you saying it was known that Chief Fry was going to be out of town? Sia said, was he really out of town? Well, according to Bloom, not only was he out of town, when he got back to Moscow, he went home and changed into his uniform before he came to the scene. Okay? All right, let's look at the second one. This is very important. Okay? It says all the town's 911 calls are routed routinely to Pullman, about 10 miles west in Washington State and home to Washington State University, where they're handled by civilian employees. All right? All 911 calls are routed to Pullman, about 10 miles west in Washington State and home to Washington State University, and where they're handled by civilian employees of a municipal agency called Whitcomb 911. So this is outsourced to Whitcomb 911. All right, the calls come in from the local Whitman and Austin counties, as well as the city of Moscow, two universities with a total of about 42,000 students and 70 additional municipal and county agencies. And the dispatch crew, local newspapers report, are severely understaffed. The overtime schedule often adds up to a grueling 20 hours every week. Okay, do you believe that the killers knew that the calls were routed to Pullman, and they told the students to downplay, in the 911 call, not to say that it was, a quadruple stabbing, so that all of Pullman wouldn't be on their doorstep right away. God forbid somebody might have gotten to the scene before 4 o'clock, before, what do you think? I'm going to put that in the chat. Biggest murder ever in this town, and he stops at home to change before going to the scene. Yes, he did. I don't want to keep putting these little tabs up here, but Chief Fry went home. He didn't come directly to the scene. I think Payne, Gunderson, Gunderson, I have a tab here for him, but Payne and Smith didn't get there until 4 o'clock. So that, and the coroner 5:30. So nobody was in a rush because they said unconscious person. I mean, this could have been somebody drunk, passed out. Okay? Now, that's what unconscious person means. So the call was routed to Pullman, and so Pullman dispatched it to the Moscow Police Department after they received it, and they reported it to Gunderson as an unconscious person. Now let me find that one. All right. This is what, no one was to rush to the scene. All right. Now this is Gunderson. Remember, these are Bloom's accounts of what happened. And he's saying that it was 11:58 a.m. on Sunday, November 13, 2022, when a notification of an unconscious person at a residence on 1122 King Road, Moscow, was passed on to Sergeant Shane Gunderson. Gunderson, who on that day was midway through a 12-hour shift that had started at 6 a.m., was running the operations division at the sparkling, modernistic, it had opened barely 11 months earlier, Southview Avenue Police Headquarters. Okay, and so you're right, one made nut. You're right. It's possible they knew, but I'm more leaning towards the Whitcomb unconscious narrative. It's more about trying to excuse the two surviving roommates, delayed call, and strange story. I agree. All right, nepotism all the way, Mr. Mojo. Another channel said 2 minutes call came. I'm at 11:58 and he was there at 12 p.m. Well, Gunderson was his shift started at 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. So he had time to be over there. He had time to be over there and be at work. But when he was called, he had already been at work for 6 hours. Now here's something else interesting. Gunderson didn't have to go to the call. He volunteered to go because it was only unconscious person call, and he had two officers that were supposed to go. He went along by his own choice. Okay, let's look at that one. Let me see if these are the same ones or what. All right. That's the wrong one. Let's try this one. All right, this is still the account by Howard Bloom. Okay, it says, when the 911 call came in, Gunderson had a corporal and two other officers on duty to assist with the patrol. He could have left the response to them. He'd tell people with a hint of embarrassment, had no intention of something out of the ordinary. That morning he was simply eager to break the monotony, and as always he felt strongly it was important for him to get out on the street where people could see him. He swiftly decided he'd go to the scene too with his officers. Okay, so he didn't have to go to the scene. Let's see what we got over here. I'm wondering if paramedics got there first. It should have only taken 5 minutes max in that small town on a quiet Sunday afternoon. What is the mix-up with all these responders? And that's Robin. Lori, LOL, we're listening, Queen. I'm just on delay because my husband is getting on my last nerve, interrupting my participation thought tonight. Okay, tell him that he is out of order. Christopher Donner, that neighborhood chef interview with Harsh, and however his name is, said he never knew the victims, met them in passing, but later on said the cops were there immediately after the 911 call. That's true. Not only did he say that they were there immediately after, but he said he didn't know them, and then he turned around and said they were the best neighbors you could ever have. How could he know that unless he met them? All right, that's a good point. That's a good point. Sudi Vacek, they were prompt in getting there, I have to say. Lightning fast, ridiculous. Susie Q, those colors were something else. Okay, so what do we say about Gunderson volunteering to go to the scene when the 911 call came in? It's almost like Mr. Bloom doesn't want to say 911 call. He just wants to, and he keeps saying message instead of call. It's like he avoided saying 911 call in these memoirs he wrote. I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous, really. Now, this is what happened with Howard Bloom. Okay? He wrote this story, of course, for recognition and to advertise for his his book that he's writing, and it seemed like he was on the side of the police, right? Could Brian have heard it on a friend's ham radio and wanted to check on Bethany Funk? That was Ray Ann. Do y'all believe that Brian Kohberger knew Bethany Funk? Do you believe that? Yes or no? I'm going to put it in the chat. I want to know. Do you believe that Brian knew Bethany? I'm hearing this on a lot of different ones. I mean, do we have to go back to my first video where Mr. G and the other family said there was no connection between their child and Brian Kohberger? Okay, so why did the family say? Why didn't Kaylee had access to her sister's phone? Why didn't Kaylee's sister mention Brian Kohberger? Why? All right. Now, well, I think they're trying to make it sound like they knew each other. Okay, just because Bethany got subpoenaed doesn't mean she knew Brian Kohberger. I just can't see it. I mean, if we had no idea or thought that he knew Bethany before the subpoena, I don't see how a subpoena could change my mind. Because basically, I mean, I just don't see it. I don't see him being involved with any of those kids, to be honest with you. Number one, they look normal. I mean, they were mostly, all of them were like beach blonde, or what do you call it when you have brown hair, brunette? They were they look normal. They look too normal for him. You know, when you're getting high, these guys like to see all kinds of weird looking colors and stuff. So that, you know, he wouldn't have got much out of that. You know, this guy has been doing heroin on and off for years. It takes a lot more to thrill a man that's been on dope, on and off of some strong dope like that. Okay? I'm just saying, okay? A guy that's been in the street and he's been getting high off crack or heroin or whatever, and, you know, he's off it, he's clean for a minute or whatever, but he's been down that road. And he's partied with girls while he's getting high. Just some little schoolgirl with blonde hair, that's not going to do it for a guy like that. When these guys get on these hard drugs, you know, it takes a certain type of female to party with them. I know these girls thought they were partying at 1122 King Road with the little beer and stuff, but it gets a lot deeper than that. Okay? The party scene gets a lot deeper than just some beer and people running in and out of a house, maybe smoking some weed or whatever. The dope scene gets a lot deeper than that. And when you start talking about somebody that was on heroin, and this person is supposedly, you know, clean off it, but he, you know, we've already seen one girl he got off Tinder. We already see what he was going after years ago. Years ago. You know? Bethany couldn't hang with Brian Kohberger. Let me put that in the chat for people who don't understand. See, these girls think that they're fast, but it gets a lot deeper than that, okay? They were at home and trying to go to sleep at 4 o'clock. In the street, when you go to an after hours, you don't come out and to go home until 6 o'clock in the morning. I mean, that's how it is in Miami. I don't know where you live, but I'm just saying, you know, the dope game is a lot more. Okay, CL said, I'm not believing the drug or vegan stories about him either. Huge amount of effort was being pushed to make this guy fit their narrative about him. Okay, we could see the drugs on him in some of his pictures. I mean, let me put that in the chat. I don't know why my caps lock keeps coming off. Hold on, let me type that in the chat. Let me turn the caps lock off. I don't know why it's doing this to me. Hold on just a minute. Okay, there it is. All right. We can see Brian's drug use. You can see the transition in his pictures over the years. Okay? He has definitely been on some dope, okay? And you can, I mean, that's not somebody on cocaine. That's not just cocaine. All right? So these girls, they might have been headed that way with drugs and alcohol, but they were not on Brian's level when it comes to partying. Okay, let me show you. Let me go back and show you what y'all weren't paying attention. I'm going to take all this down because I need to make my point again. I'm going to make my point again because somebody wasn't listening, paying attention to me. This is an article in the Daily KLS. None of those girls was fast enough. And it is entitled to run with Brian Kohberger. Church's takeover of Idaho college town is fueled by a misogynist, rape-friendly theology. Okay, this was published September the 29th, 2021. I mean, when you start talking about crack and heroin, Pastor Doug Wilson of Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho. Now listen, some of his pictures look something like Xana's mom. I'm only repeating the opinions of other people. BK was looking like Xana's mom. These are not my personal opinions. So if he was going to run with somebody out that group, it would have been Xana's mom, not a daughter. Let's see. That's who was his speed. Xana's mom was his speed, not Xana. Whoever he interviewed, I guess. And just a little bit of it. Let's see. Skip over that. A deep profile. Wilson's domineering evangelical church, which buys up property and businesses throughout the Latah County community and bullies both members and non-members who question either his edicts or his far-right theology, is built on a fundamentally misogynist worldview that permits male members to rape their wives and threatens any women who object. And that's pretty harsh, but like I said, it's not my words. Some things you cannot hide, okay? If you have a cold, if somebody has a cold, they're going to sneeze, of the women who have survived Christchurch culture that normalizes sexual abuse and harassing survivors. That person has a cold. You cannot hide drugs. Of all the people we have investigated, you cannot hide drugs. A lot of them we struggle to find a motive. It's certain things you can't hide. And these girls, first of all, they were still in school, still going to class. All right? They were still in school, still going to class. Let's start right here. They were still in school and still going to class, first of all. They still had their weight up. Okay? Most of them had a car. So I really don't know. Is the screen frozen? The screen should be frozen. Hold on. Okay, your screen should show. I went back to the screen with Brian and Haley, the girl from Tinder. Thank you, John Custom Sauce. Thank you. People don't just stop using heroin, they use Suboxone, methadone, treatment, etc. It's lifelong struggle. Well, in Miami, they cut the dope with methadone. They don't use it to get off it. They use it to cut it. So it's a lifelong struggle like Xana's mom and Dee. If you know, you know. I have personally seen it. I'm telling you, Brian is Xana's mother speed when it comes to socializing and sitting down to party with somebody. Okay? Those little girls look like mice to him. Those little girls look like mice to Brian Kohberger. This girl here on the screen, this is what he was in 2 years ago. So imagine what kind of partying he wants to do now. And those girls at Key Road, that's just not going to get it. I'm just saying. That's just my opinion. I'm just saying that little mice. Those are little mice to him. You know? They could only get so high. You know? They didn't have no money. I don't think Dylan had a car. I don't know if Bethany had one. No, I believe they went on a date. I mean, she let him come to her house, which just destroys her credibility. But I believe they went out on a date. I don't know if he actually came to where she lived or whatever. Okay, what are we congratulating Joanne on? I missed it. What, Robert, what are we congratulating Joanne on? What's awesome? Okay, I'm just saying congratulations, Joanne. I'm not sure why. The video should not be running. Period. Mr. Mojo. Joanne. Oh my God. Let me just say congratulations. Nobody's going to tell me. I'm just saying. It's for something, right? Now back to what I was saying. This is what I'm trying to explain to you all before I move on to my last point. Honestly, I'm not trying to be mean. Oh, sobriety. Oh, wait, hold on just a minute. Okay, hold on. I'm coming. Okay, sobriety. I got it. Thank God somebody caught me up. I don't want to miss it. Okay. All right. Now let me get back, because I'm going to put this in the chat for those who don't believe me, and then I'm going to move on. Joanne, that is certainly awesome. I'm so proud. I'm so very proud. It takes a very strong person. Who somebody said, okay, I love you too. That's awesome. I'm the one that's not paying attention. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I got caught. All right, Joanne, you do your thing then. Do your thing. All right. Well, let me change the subject because nobody's listening. I'm trying to tell you guys the truth about this situation. You know, these guys, almost 30 years old, are high rollers when it comes to getting high. You know, they're not just getting out of their parents' house, experimenting. They've been using. And so it's time to, little Bethany and little Dylan and little Maddie, that ain't gonna get it for somebody that's been using hard drugs. Heroin, a needle, come on now. Cooking stuff in a spoon, come on now. Those little mice. Those are little mice to him. Okay, let's move on. I want to talk about this here. Speaking of partying. Thank you, Don't Die 509. Thank you. Now, this is something I don't get. Let me, I'm trying to change our screen here. Okay, did my screen change? Now, these people, that's right, beautiful. That's right, beautiful. They have to have something, them little baby girls, they need to stop trying to pretend like those little baby girls was something that's almost darn near 30-year-old man that parties hard would be interested in. They need to stop it. They need to stop it. Yeah, Xana's mom is BK Speed. If he was gonna get high, that's who he'll call Cara. Cause number one, she might have the dope. He got no money. And number two, she can last for a little while. She can last for a little while. You know, those girls at King Road, those were little mice compared to a man almost 30 that been partying. You can look at his hands and tell what he's been doing. All right, I'm trying to tell y'all. And so, all right, don't say I didn't try to let you know what's going on. All right, this is what is going on right now. Okay, this was just a few days ago. So what does that tell you? They still doing the same thing on King Road. They just moved it to another house. They just moved it to another house. This was Sunday, April 30th. And it said it's bad, going on for about an hour. Officers responded, report taken. They're still doing the same thing. All right, Laura Northrop. Xana's mom was BK Speed, not his Speed, Miss Lady. It's the truth. I'm just saying, I'm just saying when you get to that age or that level of partying to where you shooting in your arm, I mean, and you've been doing it to where it's affecting the way you look in your pictures, you know, and Sudi, nothing has changed. They're doing the same thing on the same street. They just went to another house. It's like these kids, they're not even mourning these kids anymore. All right? John Customs, I just don't see. You answered your own question, Johns. All right, Johns, I'm going to respond to you in the chat as well. You answered your own question. He didn't have time to waste. And he knows that a 21-year-old that might not even have a car is not going to be able to. I hate to be, how do you say it when you say stuff that's too blasé or too vivid? I mean, I don't want to be rude or say something inappropriate, but I'm going to just come right out and say it, all right? When people get high, they want to have sex. And a 21-year-old that just left her parents' house cannot do the things that an almost 30-year-old heroin user is going to want to have done, no matter how she looks. Okay? Let me put that in the chat. I'm putting it in the chat. Okay, I put it in the chat. I don't want to be I don't want to be inappropriate. Okay, but it's the truth. And y'all keep saying he didn't have time. He didn't have time to teach her. He didn't have time, John's Custom. He didn't have time to show him how he likes it. Trust me. He didn't have time. And even now, it's the same mess. It's the same mess going on that street. Okay, I had a list of questions that before we turn out, I had some questions I want to ask so that I'll know which way to go for my next project. All right, and here's the first one. All right, I'm gonna put it in the chat. Here's my first question. All right, this is my first question. Do you believe Murphy was the only dog in that neighborhood? Because they keep talking about this barking at 417. Was Kaylee the only person that had a dog? Do we know that was the only dog in the area? Because we know that Enoch Harsh, he has a cat. So you're allowed to have pets in those apartments. 500 Queen Road is allowed to have pets on that side. Now, I don't know about the people in the houses, but I'm just saying, can we just out now assume that a dog barking on a ringtone is Murphy? Can we prove that's Murphy? I don't think so. Everything could have been done and sealed and delivered by 4 a.m. And whoever was barking on that ringtone could have been somebody else. Sudi Vasek says they talk about a dog park, so there has to be other dogs. Right. That's right. That's right. I mean, we just get told these things and we just go along with the narrative like we got a leash around our necks. We don't know whether that was Murphy or not. We don't know. All right, here's my second question. Here's my second question. All right, there's my second question. Do we know, can we prove that? All right, Don't Die 509 said, nope, next door had one. I saw on News Nation in a news video, there was a dog. I wish you could send me that link. Oh, please, thank you. Because I know good and well, just because somebody's talking about a dog barking in an affidavit, that's a timestamp all of a sudden. We don't even know whose dog it is. We don't even know whose dog it is. Now you got to shape up, Robin. You're a strict teacher, Hard Truth. It's just the beginning of class. Jeez. We got to do it right. We got to do it right. Tell people the truth and stop with these ridiculous lies and insinuating things that we know good and well is just not possible or likely. Mr. Mojo said Murphy was 9 months old at the time and still a pup. Mine didn't bark a lot at 9 months. No way to prove it, Sudi. Don't Die, 2 weapons. At least 2. Because remember, Mr. G said the wounds didn't match. He was saying the wounds don't match. Possibly more than 2. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right? Because what we have here is not enough time and not enough force. Imagine if 2 people of 2 different sizes are assaulting people with the same weapon. The person that's bigger is going to do more damage than the smaller person. That's exactly what I said. One made nut. That's exactly what I said. I don't think there was only one weapon. Steve Goncalves says the injuries don't match. That's exactly what I said. Exactly. He was telling us early on that he believed there were more than one killer and more than one weapon. He was telling us that early on. And sad to say, they're still doing the same thing. They're still doing the same partying and the same foolishness as if, you know. All right, I have a picture I want to show you. This comes from Pennsylvania. It might take a minute to register on your screen. All right. Now, I think it's coming up on your screen. Just a minute. Give it a minute. Because this is a picture of Brian Kohberger when he was still in Pennsylvania and he was dealing with young people. Okay, he was dealing with young people. And to me, this is the way he would see Bethany or Dylan. This is just my opinion. Okay, CL said one interview with SG, he said that this was an unbreakable professional weapon that caused punctures. All right? That's good. Okay, Beautiful Disaster said, look how standoffish she is. Well, he has to be standoffish. These most of them, except for one, are girls. I mean, he pretty much has to be standoffish. But they look happy. They look excited. The girls do. Whatever they Okay, that's another good question. That's another good question, Rand. Was he ever hired? I mean, do we know that he didn't get the job? Was it pending? I'm gonna put that in the chat. Do we know? Do we know? Was okay, here's a good question. Was Brian's police job application pending or denied? Because I have heard that he wasn't hired or fired, that he was still going through the process. That's what I heard, Rayanne. Now, I can't confirm that. I can't confirm it. Okay, Beautiful Disaster. Wasn't there a journalist student like for looking into Moscow? I thought they could never find a record of it being denied or accepted. That sounds about right, Robin, because I don't think he was ever actually denied the job. I think it got paused in the middle of thin air, is what I think. I think it got paused, and of course, eventually they would say that it was killed. Yeah, that's what I said, Robin. He has to separate himself. But he's been a teacher all his life. Looking at this picture, BK has been a teacher. He's been a teacher all his life, probably. Okay, and he probably liked older women even when he was younger. I had a cousin like that. Okay, he was a grown man by the time he was 14. And he ended up marrying somebody that was like 10 or 15 years older than he was. Right, he was never accepted or denied. Right. He was never accepted or denied. Mr. Mojo, Pullman law enforcement was envious of Brian, in my opinion, since he wanted to assist them with cloud-based forensics. Too smart, Dean's List GPA. Could be possible. I know that they don't have any problems saying it's him as far as his crime. They probably say, this is a heaven sent person to frame, That picture was when he was still in Pennsylvania, and he was at, I believe, DeSales. He was at DeSales, and he was working some project. But I do know he was in Pennsylvania, and if I'm not mistaken, this was at DeSales where he got his master's. This is where he was. So this guy has been he's been in a like a leadership role a little bit all his life probably. And these kids are kids to him. I just have that feeling that anybody under 30 is like a child to him as far as dating. Because I just feel that he's very mature for his age. He's probably about 35, 37 mentally anyway. Somebody said that, Joanne. Somebody definitely said that. Oh, it was Mr. Campbell that said that. It was Tim Campbell. Timothy Allen Campbell. Let me put his name in the chat. All right. Yes. So this guy was a leader. He had positions where, right. That's true, CL. I mean, what reason could they have to say no, we don't want you? Or at least to say not this position, but we have something else that you'll probably fit into. You know? I agree. Joanne, it's possible all of BK knowledge, he knew of all the corruption. That's right. Mr. Timothy Allen Campbell said that. And his videos, you can find them under Timothy Allen Campbell. He has a YouTube channel. It's no telling how he ended up in the mix, but I know how he didn't end up in the mix. They didn't just run up on his car November the 25th. I already proved that in my last live. All right. Okay, so what y'all got something else you want to talk about, or are we going full time, overtime? Because I had a couple other points I could make. Let's see. I'm not ready to shut down yet. Y'all finally paying attention. Oh, here we go. I know I forgot something. Okay. Give this a minute to load now. This is my last point. Yes, Sudie, please check him out. He doesn't get very many views, but family he's got some of Idaho murder victim Ethan Chapin. Question why is the very... All right. All right. Give this a chance to load. I'm giving it. It's loading. Okay. Thank you, Christopher. Keep making your points. We are listening. Yay! Y'all finally listening to me. Okay. Well, you should have had a little party for Joanne. I'm not mad about that part. But other than that, you know. Let me look and see if you can see this. Okay, I'm going to play it. I pre-recorded it. It's about whether or not Dylan should have been arrested. So I'm going to put my point in the chat, and then I'm going to play the tape. I pre-recorded this for you guys a few hours ago. All right, hold on a second. Okay, here's what it's about. All right. This is... All right, here we go. This is the Daily Mail. Let me turn the volume on. Okay, can you hear it? This is the Daily Mail family. Let me throw this in the trash, then I don't have to worry about it. I gotta find my volume. Hold on 1 second. Okay, here it is. I got it. This is the Daily Mail. Family of Idaho murder victim Ethan Chapin question why surviving roommate Dylan Mortensen didn't call the cops after hearing crying and screaming and claimed she called all of the girls in the house rather than 911. This was published February the 5th, okay? After all the dust settled and all of these claims about finding connections and looking them in the eye and all that. I mean, the family still didn't have peace, okay? His sister-in-law has since revealed that Dylan, who was in the property at the time of the killings, along with Bethany Funk, called all the roommates after she heard screaming and crying coming from their rooms. Now, wouldn't that make you feel like your loved one could have lived if somebody had called the cops or an ambulance? I mean, wouldn't that make you angry or suspect that this person is sitting there listening to your family member be attacked and that this person held the key to your loved one making it to a hospital and maybe living to see another 20 or 30 years? I mean, wouldn't you think that? His sister-in-law has since revealed that Dylan was in the property. Dylan supposedly called all the girls in the house after the crying and screaming stopped, and no one answered, and she still didn't call the police. Okay, this is a problem. This is a problem for a lot of people. I know it's a problem. His sister-in-law has since revealed that Dylan was in the property. Dylan supposedly called all the girls in the house after the crying and screaming stopped, and no one answered, and she still didn't call the police. Okay, this is a problem. This is a problem for a lot of people. I know it's a problem. Okay, the reason I say that, let me turn it down. The reason I say Dylan should have been arrested is because she heard crying. She heard crying. I mean, I just don't understand how you can can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Mr. Mojo. Okay. What I was saying was, Dylan could have been, I feel like she could have been arrested because you're sitting here telling me that you placed yourself in the middle of a murder scene, a quadruple murder scene. You heard it going on. You heard the victims being attacked, crying and screaming, and you didn't call police. To me, that should be a crime. Okay, I don't know. It should post up, but that should be a crime. Okay, how is she not going to jail? Because you're telling us that you were there. You heard 4 people being attacked, and you heard somebody crying. Now, if I was the Chapin family or the Kernodle family, I would say that you should be arrested. Well, they must be in real high places, because how do you tell the police that you are in a house in the middle of a crime scene, heard all this crying and screaming, saw the person walk out that did it, according to you, and you didn't call police? To me, if she was crying, Xana could have been saved. If the ambulance came, she's still responsible, CL. In the PCA, it just said she thought she heard crying from Xana's room. They worded this PCA perfectly so she can't be held responsible. Oh, you can't hear? I don't know what's going on here. Okay, well, I still have one more thing I need to say. The reason why she called all her roommates, but she didn't go to any door, is because she wasn't in the house. She wasn't there. And I'm going to put that in the chat. With a lampshade on her head. Well, they're still doing the same thing. They're still doing the partying. And as far as I'm concerned, Dylan should be listen, Mr. G can sue Dylan's family. Sootie, I keep telling you guys, I'm telling you, I could be wrong, but I don't think that a heroin user, almost 30 years of age, would have been bothered with these little chickadees. I just don't think so. I don't think she was with Brian. I don't think Brian would be bothered with Dylan. I mean, she's too plain looking. Her hair is a normal color. Far as I know, she's not a, heavy drug user. She probably is a drinker. But I just don't see her being able to hang, once somebody with that much responsibility as a PhD student and a TA, a teacher's assistant, and then you still got to have some kind of way to, feed yourself. He didn't have time to waste. So if he had time to go out and party or have a good time, it was going to be with somebody that he had to spend half the night, training them to be able to do this or that. Well, it was summons. It was summons. I think that he can sue. I think that Mr. G is getting ready to really show out, is what I think. I think Mr. G is getting ready to show out on DM and Bethany's family. That's why he wants this gag order lifted. Now, well, what do you think is gnawing at you, Shooty? Because I'm just thinking that Mr. G is getting ready to show out because he doesn't have peace. He doesn't have peace. The cops told him one thing in his PCA, but so many things have popped out. He's getting ready to show out. He's getting ready to show out. That's what I say. Well, some of this stuff, I'm not sure if you guys were able to even, I'm not sure if y'all were able to hear everything. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this live, and then I'm going to have to make a video maybe if some of this stuff didn't come through like I wanted it to. Because some of this I'm 100% sure of, and some of it I can't prove it, but if I had to bet on it, I would. But I just don't understand how Dylan Mortensen was not arrested. Well, I do understand why. She gave a statement to go along with the police foolishness. That's how she got out of it. She was cleared because she agreed to the bushy eyebrow statement. The bushy eyebrows. Yep. She was willing to sign a statement that went along with Brian Kohberger as the suspect, and that was it. And that was it. All right? Okay, you guys. I usually knock off at about 10:30 because I think some of my other YouTubers are starting their lives at 10:30. But what I'm saying is, a lot of this stuff, the reason it doesn't add up is because it doesn't. I don't know. She got out of it by saying the bushy eyebrows got her out of it. She was willing to say she saw Brian. That's all she had to do. But some problems have popped up. And Dylan Mortensen was not in the house. That's why she couldn't go to each door. That's why she called. Instead of going to each door, she wasn't in the house. Now, I lied. I have another question for you. I thought that was the last one. But I have another important question to put in the chat, and then I'm going to call it a night. Now, answer this one truthfully. Okay, here's the question of the day. Do you believe if Cody, Scott, Clear, these people they say are the crew that were the killers, do you believe they would let Dylan and Bethany stay in the house while it happened? I didn't know Mr. Goncalves was Portuguese. I really didn't. I thought he was Latino, to be honest. I'm just saying, if you were planning to do something like that, and there were two people in there that you weren't going to kill, would you let them stay in the house while you do it? Wouldn't you tell them to be gone somewhere? Would you let them be witnesses? I mean, there would be mental baskets by the time it was over with if you actually let them be in the house and experience it. They could have told them not to be home because they were going to rough somebody up. And then it turned out to be a lot more than that. CL, I don't believe it either. You're right, I don't believe it either. I definitely don't. I don't believe one drop of it. Now listen, we're going to bring this live session to a close. I love you guys, and I really, really enjoy having these lives. I have to have them more often is the problem, because I haven't had one since last Thursday, and so everything I try to cram it all into one session, and that's not right. So maybe I should have two shorter sessions during the week instead of one long one, so that we can make sure we talk about everything. Okay, because at least we got a chance to congratulate Joanne tonight. That was a surprise, right? I had an awesome time. And so, I don't know. I might just try to split it into two. I don't know if I'll be able to do it next week, but maybe the week after that one, I can have two during the week that are shorter. I mean, it wouldn't be an hour and plus minutes, but we could have two a week instead of one. That's right, one maiden nut. Diem and Bethany may know what happened, but what if they've been threatened that if they talk, then it's good night for them. Sudie, I always watch your replays. I rewatch sometimes. You're awesome, girl. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the kind words. You guys are awesome. I have a great time during the week. Okay. Robin, Portuguese is Latino pretty much. His name would be Gonzalez in Spanish. Oh, okay, because that's exactly what I thought of when I first read Goncalves. I thought Gonzalez. I did. So thank you for that lesson, okay? So we won't be ignorant and just think he's, South American. I mean, I don't know. Where's Portugal? In Portugal, in Europe? Well, the fact that she said one guy leaving out the back, she signed her ticket to be able to go home and sleep and not have to worry about being harassed anymore. Okay, for all we know, they could have got a thrill out of it. But I don't see how they bounced back so quick from all that and ran to the tattoo shop. To me, those two knew all about it. It wasn't them. They're in the spotlight, as victims and la di da everybody. That's what I see. But anyways, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I'm going to make it a goal to make 2 lives. Okay, be sure to like, share, and if you're in this chat, you're subscribed anyway, because I made it to where only my subscribers could participate in the chat. And so if you're viewing, but you weren't able to participate in the chat, please think about subscribing so that you can participate in the discussions with us. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, and thank you to everyone who has donated, who will donate in the future. I know everybody's finances are different, but if you would like to donate to the channel, there is a Cash App and a PayPal information in my community page, and I will post that again this evening. I forgot to do it before the live, but if anybody can and will donate, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It buys us more time, definitely. So look for my next live next Thursday. If I can plan to have 2, back to back, close or split out in the week, I will. But if not, I will definitely have my next live on next Thursday at 8:45. I will keep that because that seems to be convenient for most of my subscribers, right? So that's what we'll do. Yes, I need you too. I need you, and I need you guys to be able to come in and share with me so that we can continue to collaborate and solve this crime before anyone else. We have to solve before everybody else. All right, and so thank you very much, and you guys be safe. I'm going to take this off the screen. I'm not sure if it's lagging because I need to do a little bit of get better with this technology, with the sound and everything. But we're doing all right. Now I'm gonna say good night in the chat, and thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. And we will meet again on Thursday night, and hopefully my technology will be better because I'll have some help. I have somebody coming to explain some of this stuff to me, so that I'll know how to do it, how to work it. Okay. All right. Good night and much love.